Hello! Here starts the story about the Great Russian River. However, it doesn't start on its bank, stream, or even the place called the Volga. It's 2 kilometers to the north. Why? A river is like a human. Before it's born, it's already living, breathing, and moving, though hidden inside the Mother Earth. Gradually, one of the springs breaks out on the surface. That's when we can say a river was born. Right here, the river was born. There's a spring at the bottom of this well, which is going to turn out into one of the world's greatest rivers. Look, it's such a tiny stream. It doesn't even know what's coming next. There will be towns and cities, bridges, dams, and water reservoirs. On the end, it meets the Caspian Sea. By the way, some scientists believe that the Volga doesn't flow into the Caspian Sea. We'll certainly check that during our journey. The Volga is more than just a river for our country. The Volga, with its all tributaries, is the blood system of Russia. It nourishes, it gives life. During the feudal division, the Volga flowed partially through the territory of one principality, then another, and through the Khanate. When Kazan and Astrakhan were conquered and the whole Volga was in the territory of the United Country, that's when we can say the United State of Russia has started. Their fates, the river and the country, are closely linked. Naturally, many famous people visited this place: Ostrovsky, Shishkin, and Prokudin-Gorsky, a famous early 20th century photographer. Here's a picture of the source by another photographer, Maxim Dmitriev. This talented person, who was Mendeleev's disciple, developed a color photo technology back in the 19th century. In 1909, he left on a long expedition ordered by Nicholas II, aimed to record the main Russian sites. The photographer traveled from the Volga source to Tver, so our routes coincide. Therefore, we can compare what these places looked like 100 years ago and today. Look, the length of the Volga is 3,690 kilometers. How long is that? Let's perform an imaginary experiment. Imagine that this rope is 3,690 kilometers long. If we fixed one end at the Volga source and stretched the other to the east, it would reach as far as Tuva. If it's difficult to visualize it this way, we could stretch it to the south. In this case, the rope would come up to Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. Can you imagine that? That is what our Volga is. It is considered that water passes the way from the river source to its mouth in 37 days. So if we let a toy ship on the river here, it will get to the Caspian Sea in 37 days. Shall we find out? I've got such a ship with me. Well, a scientific experiment is going to be held. Come on. The timer has started. Day 1. You won't find the Volga source on maps from 14th, 15th, 16th centuries at all. It just flows out of some big lakes. However, an explorer, Sigismund Herberstein, wrote in 1549, "No, the Volga doesn't flow out of the lakes, it flows into them." In the 18th century, there appeared a mark on the Tver region map called the exact Volga source location. There are 4 rivers that originate from the Valdai hills. There are the Volga, the Western Dvina, the Dnieper, and the Lovat. A cast iron cross symbolizing these great rivers was installed here, inside a tiny chapel by the Volga source next to the magnificent Transfiguration Cathedral. The first male monastery was found here during the Tsar Alexei Mikhailovich reign. Unfortunately, it burned to the ground in the 18th century, and it has never been restored then. Though in 1812, Spaso-Preobrazhensky Cathedral was built here, at the very place where we are now. Volgograd-Verkhovye, St. Apostolic Princess Olga Nunnery was founded. Later, as it used to be then, it was closed by Soviet regime officials. They arranged a whole stable instead. The nunnery was only restored in 1999. have some tourists here. Tourists and pilgrims come here in summer. Okay. Most of the year we stay alone here. Actually, it seems to be a perfect place for a quiet monastic life. Every year in late May, we have Orthodox authorities headed by Metropolitan Victor. They come here and sanctify the Volga. So, the water is running sanctified from the very source. And the procession starts at the very source? Yes, must be an impressive sight. The procession participants follow the Volga course to Kalyazin, and we wish that the procession could reach Astrakhan. And actually, such projects are in the work already. Right to the final point, the whole Volga? Yeah, could be almost the same route along which our research team is moving now, actually. Exactly, am I right? Hopefully, we'll also reach Astrakhan someday. The first St. Olga monastery nuns were taken from Kazansky monastery in Vyshny Volochysk. There were 10 of them at the beginning, and this is how the monastic community was formed here. There's a monastery refectory building between the two temples. This is the first building constructed 100 years ago here. After 100 years' time, we dug up an old foundation, and we suppose this is the first building to be restored. Restored? Yeah. The monastic community life will be organized and focused here on this historic territory. The Transfiguration Church took full 18 years to construct. Unfortunately, its walls have never been decorated. There was an idea to paint the inner church walls with images of St. Olga's holy offspring. Since Princess Olga is the first Russian saint, there are lots of her descendants as well, such as martyrs Boris and Gleb, Vladimir the Great, who brought Christianity to Russia, and others that were recognized as saints. Do you know how a stream turns into a river? All thanks to its tributaries. More than 200 of them feed the Volga. They enrich it, giving it power, might and energy. Look, the red-brown Volga water is being mixed with clear tributary water at the moment. This is the first Volga tributary. It's called Persianka. Embrace the Persian woman with his mighty arms. The Volga is not only one of the biggest rivers in the world. It is also the longest one in Europe. It flows through 15 Russian regions and republics. The Volga Basin occupies 1/3 of the European part of Russia. 4 cities with over 1 million people are situated on its banks. Thanks to the canal system, the Volga is connected with the Baltic, White, Azov and Black Seas. In the 20th century, 8 electric power stations were built on the Volga. Among all the world internal flow rivers, these kinds of rivers don't flow into the ocean, the Volga is the biggest one. And now, dear friends, I'm going to show you the greatest hydro engineering construction. You've never seen anything like this. Get ready, just a moment. Look, here it is. How does it feel? Not impressed? Oh, it needs some context. This is the first bridge over the Volga River. Not the prettiest, but the very first. There will be hundreds of them. At the very beginning of its way, the Volga flows through 2 lakes, Mali and Bolshoi Berkity. According to Prokudin-Gorsky photos, the life was quite busy by these lakes. Fishermen pulling out nets, shepherds herding cattle. Nowadays, there is no access to the lakes. Their banks are swampy. Even the locals don't know the safe paths. Pity. We managed to explore the Verkiti only from above. Volga is not the river's original name. Roman historians, such as Claudius Ptolemy and Marcelin, called it Ra River, means generous. Herfan the Confessor named it Adel, the greatest of the rivers. Adel, Etel, Itil are the Arabic and Turkic names of the Volga. And the Russian primary chronicle contains such words: the river Volga flows on and on into the Kvalin Sea. The Slavic name Volga derives from the words wetness or moisture, so Volga means water. Ah no, those canny beavers and their dams. My tiny boat has just been broken. I've lost it. Anyway, it's not a long walk on foot. This is the place where the Volga flows into Verkhnevolodsky lakes. Further downstream, the riverbed widens, and we're going to use a motorboat. The exploration goes on. Without the Verkhnevolodsky lakes, the Volga would have been a tiny stream. Here, the banks broaden and open water begins. The first of the four lakes is the Sterj. It's sometimes translated as narrow, though it doesn't look narrow. Some people explain it another way, like Volga spits the lake, hence the name. There are also more exotic explanations. If you read the word Sterj backwards, you'll get the word priest. Who knows? I don't really care which one of them is true. What matters is the beauty here. The Russians used to install crosses not only on temple tops and in graveyards. The crosses could also be votive, protective, worship. Some indicated the property boundaries, others were navigation signs. This cross was placed here by Ivanko Pavlovich, the Novgorod Posadnik, in 1133. See? Here the Volga and Lake Sterj confluence. It was carved out of a block of stone and weighed 57 puds, about a ton, and 57 inches high. So, vessels passing by could see it well from afar. Look, humans are land creatures, right? We have no finger webbing, no gills, we walk upright, we can't live underwater, so why does water attract us so much, huh? The reason is rivers give life. Firstly, fresh water for people and cattle. That's why people settled by rivers since the dawn of time. Secondly, it's a source of food. Fish, crayfish, wild animals also come and drink here. A river is a source of energy. People build dams, water mills, right? Also, defense. Imagine a town built on riverbanks, surrounded by water, no enemy could break the defense, so safety. And there's more. Transport. Rivers were the first world roads. They were used for trade, travelers went up and down rivers, so water source, food source, energy source, defense and transportation. The river is life. That's why we're attracted to it so much. Speaking of food source, we're moving to the southern end of Lake Sturge, and soon we'll get to the place I've always wanted to visit. I'll say no more, see it yourself. Everybody knows the wooden church in Kizhi built with no nails here. However, few people have ever heard of a unique monument of wooden architecture located here in Verkhny Volga, where the Sturge blends into Lake Vselik. John the Baptist Church overlooks a high bank here. A 45-meter church looks amazing no matter where you are, far or near. According to a legend, its location was chosen for a reason. Once, some Novgorod merchants stopped here for a night. In the morning, they failed to leave the icons they had with them, so they had to leave them here on the bank. A miracle, they thought. Some years later, this man-made miracle appeared here. The church was constructed by Shirkov brothers on public donations in 1694. For the foundation, they used huge stones trailed here by an ancient glacier 1000 years ago. They also made the lower row of the church walls of extremely wide logs. The inner walls were cut with an axe, the usual. The floor was made of massive wide boards. The church didn't always look like this. In the 19th century, a high bell tower was added to it, but less than 100 years later, it was pulled down. This porch is the work of some modern restorers. We couldn't get inside, since there was a big and slightly rusty padlock on the church door. We didn't notice any other acts of cultural preservation and care of this ancient monument, which is a pity. There was no central heating in this wooden church. Moreover, the village population was increasing, so the villagers needed a new church building. The donation collection was announced, and in 7 years they collected 27,000 rubles, a lot of money back then. In 1915, a new stone church was sanctified. This new John the Baptist church could accommodate 1,400 people. By the way, it still functions. Its architecture seems to resemble the Transfiguration Church by the Volga source that we've seen today. It matches the scenery around it just as well. Verkhney-Volzhsky lakes are separate from each other with narrow land areas between them. The Volga becomes a shallow river again, difficult to pass. The next Verkhney-Volzhsky lake is called the Vseleb. It stretches from the north to the south, as well as the Sterj. It's 14 kilometers long and 4 kilometers at the widest point. The lake is of glacial origin, its bottom is very irregular. The depth differs up to 10 meters. Such bottom hollows are perfect for pike perch fish, so the lake is perfect for fishers. Fishers and fish lock together. In the last century, this place was all state farms and timber industry, and these days it's too quiet by the lakes. Some fishing boats, poachers' nets, and some unspoiled tourists, those who enjoy calm central Russian beauty. Here, up the Volga, every inch is historically rich. See that small isle ahead? Doesn't look like much, right? In fact, this place is very interesting. It has several names: Malý Solovetsky Island, Zosima and Savati Island, God's Work. The locals often just call it the monastery. You know, winter starts and they say, the ice is safe enough, we'll go to the monastery and food. The island is situated in the widest point of Lake Vselek, exactly in the middle of it, 2 kilometers to the left, 2 kilometers to the right bank. In 1701, a monk came here. His name was Joel. Prince Shahovskoy, who owned this land, wanted to kick him out at first, but he changed his mind after they met and let the monk stay here. The prince also gave this land to his complete disposal. Gradually, other monks arrived to the island. This way, God's Work Island gained a monastery. During Empress Anna's reign, a stone church was built here. Of course, in the Soviet times it was blown up. Thank God the monks managed to escape, even saved all the relics. The legend says they left through a well, connecting it with the help of an underground passage to the lake bank. Nowadays, the island is coming back to life again. Unfortunately, Father Valentine, who heads this recovery process, is away at the moment. Come and see God's Work Island. Maybe you will be luckier. Looking at the perfect scenery, the viewers might think it's a place where the sun is always friendly and warm. In fact, the weather here in September isn't friendly at all. The sky is more often cloudy than clear. The rain stops only for a few hours a day. We've just chosen the moment to show you the Volga in all of its glory. Whoa, that's enough. We're very tired of non-stop rains, so we want to have a rest where it's warm. This is a recreation camp called Fishers Village. They offer sauna, tasty hot borscht, even a billiard table. Let's check it out. Numerous recreation camps are built along the Verkhnye-Volzhsky reservoir banks. They were mostly built during the Soviet period for fishers. They usually have simple tastes and are used to life without conveniences. At last, our exploration team has finally found a cozy place. It's called Fishers Village. The Vselug Lake used to be navigable. A small ship called Tsarnitsa used to run back and forth in the lake. And a field dam used to connect the lake banks. There used to be a small bridge here. Used to be. Life is life, everything is changing. And only the water has been flowing for thousands of years and will do so for 1,000 more, from Lake Vselug into Lake Pano. Time for some more linguistic research. Some people think that the name of the next Verkhnye-Volzhsky lake, Pano, originates from the word stump. They think the river course could change, the water covered the trees, logs, stumps. Stump sounds similar to the lake name, Pano, in Russian. This theory is quite smart. Lake Pano could also be Lake Log, according to their logic, right? All the three lakes, including the Pano, are in fact just stretches of water, meaning they are the result of the Volga riverbed expansion. The flow slows down here, almost stops, unlike the life around. There's a settlement with the same name on the left bank of Pano Lake, notable by its large timber company founded by Sava Morozov in 1906. Unfortunately, it went out of business in the 1990s. Its bankruptcy worsened the life of the whole settlement. Thankfully, the enterprise was recovered some years ago. It's great for the settlement and even better for us, since there's now a shipyard here. Timber is our main production here, fundamental for us. It gives people work. My hobby is yacht and boat manufacturing. I love the process. Moreover, I used to be a member of a young sailors club called Brigantina since primary school in Electrostal City. They taught me to love it. We plan to start a full-cycle enterprise here. Well, I mean, a small-scale shipbuilding in Pano. We plan to start a full-cycle enterprise. I mean, small-scale shipbuilding in Pano. We do have enough workers. Some people go to work to Moscow, and I think they could earn the same amount of money here by making high-quality things. You know, we have this commercially successful example, Bavaria Yachts, in Russia. Its shipyards were constructed from scratch, and they build yachts. No one stops us from doing the same here. This is our beauty. The most amazing thing about it, as I always say, it's handmade, you know, made by people who never held anything except a chainsaw 2 years ago. And now we have this. been down with the Volga, we passed through Sterj, Selug and Pano lakes. Now the river flows into the last of the Verkhny lakes. It's the longest of them, 40 kilometers from the west to the east. Some people think it includes 2 or 3 lakes. Well, there weren't enough names for all of them, so it's simply called Volgo. The Volga river flows into the Volgo lake. We're going to sail there. We want to test the boat made in the Pano shipyard. A perfect way to get a break from a noisy motorboat engine and busy days, just moving in harmony with nature. Sailing along the lake, I've been wondering, the landscape around has not always looked the same. It looked different before the middle of the 19th century. The first Volga dam was built there, sometimes called Beishlot. The river flooded, and all the lakes united into a big reservoir called Verkhny Volga. The scenery has changed since then. So if you get a chance to enjoy this picturesque view, don't forget it's a combination of human and natural labor. Hello? Yeah, that's me. Oh, OCEAN. Hi. How are you? Are you in Tver at the moment? When will you be there? Okay, we'll try to be on time. We've almost reached the dam, Beishlot. Yeah. Okay, bye. See you later. Goodbye. In Prokurin-Gorsky's photos dated 1906, we can distinctly see the first dam, made of wood. Nowadays, of course, newer construction materials are used, metal and concrete, but the dam still has the same functions. It regulates the Volga water level downstream during floods and droughts. These days, the Volga has a grand system of water reservoirs, dams and hydroelectric power stations. The very first dam was built right here in 1843, close to a settlement called Selice. Beishlot is a Dutch word. Today, any artificial water reservoir, like a pond, is called slot in the Netherlands. Bay is like a prefix meaning next to. So basically, it's a dam. The Beishlot has no gateways, so no vessel can go downstream the Volga. So we'll have to drag our ship along the riverbank. Unlike other dams built during the Soviet period, this one was destroyed, blown up to be precise. It happened in 1941 on the 14th of October. Our army did it. It was our army leaving the place, or to be precise, they were holding a defense line here. The 249th Division was ready to defend the area from Ostashkov to Rzhev with the help of pillboxes, dugouts and fortification lines. And then there came an order from the Kalinin front commanders to blow up the first Verkhny dam, to raise the water level and prevent the Nazi attack. They invaded this territory early in October, and as I have told, the 249th Special Sapper Division blew this dam up on the 14th of October. Instead, a new dam was built to mislead the enemy, but the invaders didn't believe it. The dam was restored in 1943 by Soviet Engineering Corps. They were rebuilding the whole area back then. And it was right on the 100th anniversary. A century has passed. Symbolic, you could say. Exactly 100 years. In the Prokhorin-Gorsky photos, we can see that the first dam was made of wood. True. It has been wooden for 100 years, for a century. Oh, a bit fewer, till 41st. So, it was transported, it was used for timber rafting. So this main stream, where we are right now, this bay, it used to be packed with timber. It was rafted down to Zhukopispinovsky district, down to Bernka rivers, there are two of them here, Bolshaya and Malaya, down the river Kocha in the Stashkov district, so people rafted timber down the small rivers into Volga lake. Then they collected it, stored it, let it flow. Then they collected it, stored it, and let it flow to the dam. There they made rafts of it, there they made rafts from it and drove them to Tver. We were together with the Volga River from the very beginning. Together with you, we went on foot, then on a boat, sailed, in a motorboat. All of that took place inside the borders of Tver Oblast. Finally, we reached Tver. We can see its turbos over there. This fast motorboat will quickly get us to the meeting point with our Ocean Explorer research ship. We'll get aboard the ship and go on traveling down the Volga. I'm sorry to see that part of our adventure come to its end. Anyhow, the exploration mission is to be continued. There will be new adventures soon. Let's go! We were eager to meet the OCEAN. Both the timetable and weather forecast made us go faster. The navigation, as well as the shooting seasons, come to their end unfortunately. So we drove from Selizharovo to Tver. We had to skip a big and quite interesting part of the Volga. We'll be back to pass it next season for sure. We promise. See you in spring.